The diner was nearly empty as Emma wiped down the counter, exhaustion weighing on her. Tips had been terrible, and rent was due in 2 days. Just then, the door swung open, and a sharply dressed man walked in. His presence was commanding, his suit worth more than her entire year's salary. When she handed him the bill, his wallet slipped open, and inside was a photograph. Her mother's photograph. Emma's heart stopped. Hands trembling, she whispered, "Sir, why is my mother's picture in your wallet?" Her breath hitched as she stared at the familiar image tucked inside the billionaire's sleek leather wallet. Her mother's warm smile gazed back at her, frozen in time. It couldn't be. Her mother had never mentioned knowing someone this wealthy, and yet here was proof, undeniable, unsettling. The man, oblivious to her shock, calmly retrieved his wallet, placed a crisp $100 bill on the counter, and turned to leave. Panic surged through Emma. She couldn't let him walk out. "Excuse me, sir," she managed, her voice barely audible. He paused, turning his piercing blue gaze toward her. It was sharp, unreadable, sending a chill down her spine. "Yes?" he asked, his tone indifferent. She swallowed hard. "That picture in your wallet. The woman in it. She's my mother." For the first time, something flickered in his expression. A hesitation, a subtle shift in his stance. But it was gone almost instantly, replaced by a cool, unreadable mask. "You must be mistaken," he said smoothly, adjusting the cuff of his suit. Emma's stomach twisted. She knew that photo. She had memorized every detail of it since childhood. It was old, one her mother had kept tucked in a box of keepsakes she rarely spoke of. "I'm not mistaken," she insisted, stepping closer. "Why do you have her picture?" The billionaire exhaled slowly, as if weighing whether to entertain her question. Then, without a word, he turned and walked toward the exit. Her heart pounding, Emma rushed out from behind the counter, nearly knocking over a tray. "Wait!" she called, desperation in her voice. He didn't stop. She followed him out into the chilly evening. The street was quiet, the hum of distant traffic the only sound. He approached a sleek black car, its driver stepping out to open the door. Emma reached him just as he was about to step inside. "Please, just tell me how you knew my mother," she pleaded. He paused, hand on the car door, and for a moment she thought he might actually respond. Instead, he turned slightly, scanning her face with a calculating stare. Then, in a cold, impersonal voice, he said, "I don't owe you an explanation." The words hit like a slap. Before she could respond, he slid into the car, and the door shut behind him. The vehicle pulled away, leaving her standing there, stunned and breathless. So many questions raced through her mind, but one echoed louder than the rest. Who was this man? And what was he hiding? She stood frozen on the sidewalk, watching the black car disappear. Her heart pounded, her breath short and uneven. His words echoed again. "I don't owe you an explanation." But he did. If he had her mother's picture, there was a reason. And she was going to find out what it was. Emma turned back toward the diner, her hands trembling as she pushed open the door. The bell jingled overhead, but she barely registered. Greg, the night shift cook, gave her a curious glance. "You okay?" he called from the kitchen, flipping a burger. She nodded weakly, walking past him to the back room. She needed space, air, time to think. Leaning against the cool metal shelving, her mind raced. Her mother had died 5 years ago, taken by a sudden stroke. There had been no mysterious mourners at the funeral, no old friends with secrets. Just co-workers, neighbors. Nothing to suggest a connection to someone like him. Emma squeezed her eyes shut. She had always believed she knew everything about her mother. But what if she didn't? What if there was a part of her mother's life she had never been told about? Her eyes landed on her purse. She grabbed it and pulled out her phone, quickly searching "Billionaire real estate mogul" and city. It didn't take long. His name was Alexander Pierce, a man worth billions. The photo on her screen matched the man from the diner, but her mother had been a nurse at a local clinic. Their worlds couldn't have been more different. Her stomach sank. She needed answers. The next morning she made a decision. She wouldn't let this mystery linger. She had to know. Emma boarded the first bus downtown, clutching her bag tightly. She had spent the night digging through news articles and business profiles. Pierce's company headquarters was just across town in one of the city's tallest towers. As she approached the skyscraper, nerves clawed at her. The lobby was vast and filled with sleek professionals who barely glanced her way. She stepped up to the reception desk, heart hammering. The receptionist offered a practiced smile. "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" Emma's throat dried. She didn't. Just a burning need. "I need to see Alexander Pierce. It's personal." The smile didn't falter, but the woman's tone cooled. "I'm sorry. Mr. Pierce doesn't take walk-ins. Please, it's important. I can direct you to our corporate inquiry department." "No," Emma said quickly. "Just a few minutes. Please." "I'm afraid that won't be possible." Her heart dropped, but she wasn't leaving. Scanning the lobby, she searched for a way past. Her eyes landed on a young man balancing a coffee cup and folder, distracted by his phone. Without thinking, she stepped into stride beside him. "Hey, wait up. You forgot to send me that report Mr. Pierce wanted." The man blinked. "What?" "The report. He's expecting it." He hesitated, confused. Before he could object, she walked confidently ahead, just as his badge triggered the security sensor. The guard barely looked at her. The elevator doors opened. Emma stepped in, pressed the top floor, and held her breath. She had done it. The ride was long. Each floor added weight to her anxiety. What would she even say when she saw him again? When the doors opened, she stepped into a bright, modern office. Assistants typed at their desks. The view from the floor-to-ceiling windows was dizzying. She took a step forward and stopped. "Excuse me, miss." A tall man in a dark suit approached, sharp-eyed and suspicious. "You're not supposed to be up here. Do you have an appointment with Mr. Pierce?" Her throat tightened. Lying wouldn't work. So she didn't. "No, but I need to see him. It's about my mother." He didn't flinch. "Mr. Pierce is in a meeting." Then, "I'll wait," she said, her voice steady now. The assistant gave her a long look, then exhaled. "Wait here," he said, before turning and disappearing down a hallway. Emma's heart pounded as she stood, unsure of what would happen next. Minutes stretched endlessly. Then, a door at the far end of the office opened, and Alexander Pierce himself stepped out. The moment his eyes landed on her, something flickered in his expression, something she couldn't place. But he didn't look surprised or angry. He looked resigned. He walked toward her, hands in his pockets, his movements slow and deliberate. "You just don't give up, do you?" he said quietly. Emma's fists clenched at her sides. "Not when it comes to my mother." A long silence passed before he finally said, "Come with me." Without another word, he turned and walked back into his office. Emma hesitated only a second before following. She was finally about to get the answers she had been desperately searching for. She stepped into the office and her breath caught. Golden sunlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating a luxurious room with a massive mahogany desk at its center. The walls were lined with bookshelves filled with expensive, leather-bound volumes. It was the kind of office that belonged to a man who controlled empires. Alexander leaned against his desk, studying her with a look that sent a shiver down her spine. There was something unreadable in his face, something conflicted. "Why do you have my mother's picture?" she asked, trying to steady her voice. He exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. "You're not going to let this go, are you?" "No." He was silent for a moment, then reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Her pulse quickened as he carefully removed the same worn photograph she'd seen last night. He stared at it for a moment, then turned it toward her. Emma's throat tightened. Her mother, young and smiling. But now, as she looked closer, something stood out. A small corner of the photograph was torn. "This picture, it's incomplete," she whispered. "There was someone else in it." Alexander nodded slowly. "Yes, someone very important." "Who?" For the first time, his voice softened. "Me." The air left her lungs. The room seemed to tilt. That doesn't make sense." But then she looked at him, really looked, and the familiarity became undeniable. The shape of his eyes, something in his expression. It was there. Her voice barely carried. "You knew my mother?" He let out a breath like he'd been holding it for years. "I loved her." Emma staggered back a step. "What?" His gaze didn't waver. "Your mother and I, we were once everything to each other." It was impossible. Her mother had never mentioned him. Not once. Not a man like Alexander Pierce. "I don't believe you." He reached into his desk and pulled out a small, old envelope. He handed it to her, their fingers brushing for the briefest moment. Emma hesitated, then opened it. Inside was another photograph, complete this time. Her mother, radiant, and beside her, a much younger Alexander Pierce, his arm around her, smiling in a way Emma could never have imagined. Tears burned in her eyes. Why? Why didn't she tell me? Because I wasn't the man I should have been. What happened? "I made a mistake," he said, his expression darkening. "The kind that changes everything." She clutched the photograph tightly. "Tell me the truth, all of it." He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "It's time you knew who I really am, and who you really are." Her hands trembled as she held the photo. Her mother's face stared back at her, and Alexander's words pressed heavily on her chest. "You're my daughter." The words struck like thunder. The room blurred, her ears rang. "No, that's not possible." His voice held pain. "It is. I've known for years, Emma. I knew the moment I saw you. You look just like her." Her mind reeled. Her mother had never mentioned any of this. "You're lying." "I wish I were." Her knees weakened, but she stayed standing. "If this is true, why didn't she tell me? Why didn't you find me?" "Because I failed her. I failed both of you." Her chest ached. "What did you do?" His voice was tormented. "We were young, in love. But I was ambitious. I wanted more, power, success, money. My family disapproved. They told me if I stayed with her, I'd lose everything. And I listened." "You walked away," she said, barely breathing. "I thought I could come back later, when I had built the life I wanted. But by the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late." She was gone. Her vision blurred. "She left because of you." Alexander nodded, regret etched deep in his features. "I searched for her for years, but she didn't want to be found. She wanted to protect you from me, from the life I built. You abandoned her. You abandoned me." "I did, and I've spent every day since regretting it." Silence filled the room. Emma's emotions warred inside her. She had grown up watching her mother struggle. Meanwhile, Alexander Pierce had lived in comfort, unaware of their pain. She wanted to scream, to cry, to ask why he had let this happen. Instead, she asked, "Why now?" He stepped closer. "Because I don't want to make the same mistake again. I lost your mother. I can't lose you too." Emma's heart raced. Her whole life she had wondered about the father she never knew. Now, he stood before her, asking for a second chance. But could she give it to him? You think you can just walk into my life and expect me to forgive you? I don't expect that. But I have to try. Do you even understand what we went through? How hard she worked to keep us afloat? She gave up everything, and you had everything. I know, and I'll never be able to make up for it. So why are you here? Guilt? Regret? You think money can fix this? This isn't about money. It never was. Easy for you to say. I can't change the past, but I can give you the future you deserve. You think I need your help? I think you deserve the choice. Your mother wanted to protect you. I understand that. But she also kept you from the truth. You were never unwanted, Emma. You were never forgotten. I loved your mother, and I would have loved you if I had known. Her breath hitched. She wanted to stay angry, to push him away. But there was something in his voice. Regret. The kind that never fades. She looked down at the photograph. Her mother's smile, Alexander's arm around her. A moment in time that had shattered. She's gone, she whispered, and she'll never know you. I know. Another silence stretched between them. Then Emma let out a shaky breath. I don't know if I can ever forgive you. I don't expect you to, but I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm not the same man who walked away. She studied his face, looking for deception, selfishness. But she only saw loss. And for the first time, she realized she had lost something too. I don't know where to start, she whispered. Alexander pressed his lips together, then reached into his desk again and pulled out a small velvet box. He placed it in front of her. Emma frowned. What is this? A gift, he said. From your mother. She left it with me years ago, told me to give it to you when the time was right. Her heart pounded as she opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace. Engraved on the pendant were 3 simple words: forgive, love, begin. A sob caught in her throat. She believed in second chances, Alexander said, his voice hoarse. Emma clutched the necklace, her mother's words echoing in her mind. Forgive. Love. Begin. Maybe, just maybe she could, too.